You've never been your thoughts, and you've never been your feelings, and you've never even been your story. What you really are is the awareness witnessing all of those things. In this video, I'm going to share why realizing that changes everything, and why most people are trapped by an identity that was never even theirs to begin with. From childhood, we're taught to identify with our thoughts and emotions. I feel sad becomes I am sad. I failed becomes I'm a failure. But a powerful shift you can make is realizing that thoughts and feelings aren't identities. They're just another layer of experience we give life to. The thing that witnesses these isn't affected by them, it's just silent and aware of what's going on. And the truth is, of what you really are, is that you are the awareness behind everything we see and experience. And when you tune into that awareness, you can start creating the life that you really want. You're no longer creating from a place of being someone who's a failure or creating from a space of someone who's no longer trying to be sad. You get to create from your truest self, from the awareness behind all that is and all that has happened in your life. If you're watching a movie, you don't become the character. You see everything that goes on, and you have an experience throughout the process, but you don't become the character. Nothing in the movie is really happening to you. And we can take this one step further when you realize that when multiple people watch the same movie, they're all going to experience it differently. And it's all based on what they've imagined about what's going on in the movie. And it's the same thing in our own personal life. What you imagine about what you see is how you're going to experience those things. There's people who've gone from lost and broken and homeless and drug addicted to become very wealthy and living very fulfilling lives because of how they chose to experience their story. And then there's people on the other side who imagine things about their story, about how they're never going to be enough, about how they're always going to be stuck and a failure. And that's what they've imagined, so that's what they're going to continue to experience. Because it's not the thoughts or the emotions or the story, it's what you imagine about them, and what you imagine about them is what is going to echo into your future. So you can have negative thoughts, you can have negative emotions, and you can have negative experiences, but understand that you're the awareness behind all of those things, and you get to choose what you imagine about them, and you get to choose how you move forward. So up until this point, you may have felt fear, or you may have felt insecurities, and you may have identified with those feelings and become them, and then wanted to overcome those things. And in a way, that's what holds a lot of people back. If we bring it back to self-concept, to overcome fear, you have to have the self-concept of someone who is fearful. To overcome, self-pity and self-doubt, you have to have the self-concept of someone who is full of self-pity and self-doubt. But if you can learn to be still, if you can learn to notice the awareness that's within you, and to notice how that's what you really are, and you're just observing what's going on, you can create a lot of space to change your story, to imagine something different about what you've experienced, what you've thought and felt throughout your life, whatever your story from the past was. When you're still and notice the silence behind all that is, then you have the space to change your story. Before we move on, when I say the word imagination, imagination is just the experience you're having within yourself, or the experience you have about certain things. So we can all experience a movie differently, and that's because we're all imagining different things about whatever's going on in the movie. We can all experience thoughts differently and emotions differently, based on what we imagine about them. So if you don't like how you've been experiencing your life or your story, it's time to imagine something differently about those things. So noticing and stepping into the silence is a little bit vague, so here are a couple ways that you can do. They're quick, they're easy. A couple ways you can do to step into the silence or notice it. The first one is just ask yourself, what part of me is noticing these thoughts or emotions? You don't need to overthink it, but you'll notice that subtle silence behind that question. And another way you can do this is to just ask yourself what your next thought is going to be. And there it is. It's not this big, huge realization that you're going to be like, wow, I finally noticed the silence. It's just, oh, there it is. You know, that's where it's always been, and that's where it'll always be. Once you've got your foot in the door, you can start to explore it more, and it'll be easier to get to there. But it's not some great mystical thing that you have to do a bunch of inner work to find. It's what you really are, and it's always been there, and it will always be there. But it's up to you to notice it and step into it. So in short, you're not here to fix your story. You're here to wake up from it and start creating what it is you truly want. The thoughts will come, the emotions will come, external events will come that might knock you off the horse, but the silence that you are will always be there, and you can always return to it. So if you have any questions or got any insights from this video, let me know down in the comments. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.